I'm Jacqueline, 27, and 7 nights before my sister's wedding, I stumbled across a secret that tore the ground out from under me. I wasn't just a guest at her big day. I was the bank they planned to rob. I heard it all from the hallway. My parents whispering numbers, my sister laughing, my father joking. She's our ATM. That's her role. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't know I'd already decided what came next. The next morning, I moved every cent, closed every account, and booked a one-way ticket. By the time the wedding day arrived, their empire collapsed in real time. Cards declined, vendors walking out, guests watching the chaos unfold. And while they begged for help, I was already gone, standing on the balcony of a new life, posting one photo that told them everything. An ATM only works when you treat it right. What followed was the day my family broke apart, and the day I finally walked free. The house was quiet except for the murmur of voices drifting from the living room. It was late, past midnight, when I padded down the hall, intending to grab a glass of water before bed. I stopped midway when I recognized the laughter. It wasn't just idle chatter. There was an edge to it, the kind people wear when they think no one else is listening. I leaned against the wall, the shadows swallowing me, and let their words settle over me like poison. My father's voice carried first, dry and amused. She doesn't need to know a thing. She'll pay anyway. That's her role in this family, our little ATM. There was no hesitation, no shame. Just casual cruelty, wrapped up like a joke. My chest tightened as the air left my lungs. I listened harder, trying to convince myself I had misheard. But then came my mother, soft yet calculating. If we shift the deposits before Friday, we'll have enough for the florist and the ballroom. She won't notice until it's too late. And then my sister, the bride-to-be, the one whose endless demands had already stretched the house thin, giggled like a child unwrapping a present. She owes me this. After all, what else is she good for? The words cut sharper than anything I'd ever heard. My nails dug into my palm as I pressed myself further into the shadows. I wanted to step out, to scream, to demand how they could sit there under the same roof with me and talk about me like I wasn't a person. But something stopped me. It wasn't fear, it was clarity. For the first time in my life, I saw exactly where I stood with them. Not a daughter, not a sister, just a resource, waiting to be emptied. I didn't breathe as they kept talking. They listed figures, accounts, vendors. My father laughed about how lucky they were that I worked so hard. My mother whispered about how everything had to be perfect for my sister's big day. And my sister, she hummed happily, already picturing herself in that sparkling dress, walking down an aisle I was never meant to afford. When their voices dropped lower, when their laughter finally gave way to silence, I moved. Step by step, I backed away from the living room, heart pounding like a drum. In my room, I shut the door without sound. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark, staring at nothing. There was no anger at first, only stillness, a strange, cold clarity that settled over me like ice. Confrontation would be useless. They weren't planning to ask me. They were planning to take. And if I told them no, they'd find another way, guilt, manipulation, maybe even signatures I never gave. They thought they owned me, my labor, my savings, my life. But they didn't know me as well as they believed. By dawn, my plan had already begun. I dressed before anyone stirred, pulling on a plain jacket and tying my hair back. No breakfast, no note left behind. Just silence. My first stop was the bank. The woman behind the counter smiled at me, oblivious to the storm beneath my calm expression. I shifted every cent from the accounts they could reach into ones they never knew existed. I signed papers to revoke permissions, locked everything under my name alone, and sealed the doors they had left wide open for years. From there, it was the lawyer's office. The contracts slid beneath my pen one by one. Power of attorney revoked. Co-signatures invalidated. Documents notarized with neat stamps that echoed like nails in a coffin. I walked out with a folder tucked under my arm, the weight of it steadier than any weapon. By afternoon, I was somewhere else entirely, An airport buzzing with strangers who didn't know me, didn't need me. My ticket was one way. No destination back to this house, this family, this betrayal. I boarded without hesitation, leaving behind nothing but silence. The days that followed were almost unreal. I woke in a new city, in a place that smelled of ocean air and possibility. I signed a lease for a penthouse with wide windows and a balcony that stretched toward the skyline. I bought furniture with cash, set up utilities in my name, and stacked the remnants of my old life into neat, organized files. Everything was mine, untouched, unshared. I didn't reach out. I didn't check in. My phone lit up with messages from friends, coworkers, neighbors who wondered where I had gone. I ignored them all. My family hadn't noticed yet. They were too busy with fittings, tastings, and rehearsals. They assumed I was working, earning, staying in my lane. They didn't realize the ground was already slipping beneath them. 7 days. That was all it took. The morning of the wedding, I woke early. The sun poured through the glass, warming the balcony where I stood with coffee in hand. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Dozens of calls, hundreds of texts. I scrolled through them one by one, watching panic unfold in real time. My mother's frantic messages. The florist won't deliver. The payment bounced. What's happening? My father's sharp, angry voicemails. Call the bank. They said the accounts are frozen. Fix this now. My sister's desperate, screeching texts. The dress shop is holding my gown. They said your card was declined. You ruined everything. Vendors threatened cancellations. Guests were confused. The grand ballroom they had bragged about stood empty, its doors locked to them without payment. The castle they had built in their heads crumbled in one morning, and all they could do was claw at the ruins. I let them. I took a photo, just one. Me, standing on that balcony, city skyline behind me. My face calm, my hands steady. I posted it with a caption so simple it cut deeper than any explanation ever could. An ATM only works when you treat it right. I put my phone down after that. Their chaos no longer belonged to me. For the first time, I wasn't their provider, their scapegoat, their invisible labor. I was free, and the silence that followed was louder than any applause. The collapse had begun, and I was nowhere near the wreckage. The photo spread faster than I expected. By the time the sun shifted past noon, my single caption had already made its way through every corner of my family circle. Friends, coworkers, distant relatives, everyone saw it. And with every glance, the truth pressed harder against them. Their perfect wedding wasn't happening. Their carefully constructed image had collapsed in front of the very people they wanted to impress most. I didn't need to be there to witness it. The messages painted the picture clearly enough. My father's tone grew harsher with each voicemail. My mother's messages dripped with desperation. My sister's words burned with rage, blaming me for stealing what she believed was hers. They no longer sounded like a family. They sounded like a group of people turning on each other as their world burned. At first, I thought they might scramble together, try to salvage what little dignity they had left. But their pride was too fragile, and their greed too consuming. When the ballroom manager demanded final payment before opening the doors, my father stormed out, shouting at my mother for trusting the numbers. She fired back, accusing him of being careless with my accounts. My sister, still in half of her gown, hurled accusations at both of them, screaming that her life was ruined. While guests waited in confusion outside, the three of them fought in the lobby like strangers, exposing every hidden crack to an audience they never meant to include. Some relatives slipped away quietly, embarrassed by the scene. Others stayed, whispering to each other, filming clips on their phones. By evening, those clips started circulating online. I watched from my balcony miles away, the video stuttering across my screen, catching every detail. My mother's face red with panic. My father pacing like a trapped animal. My sister sobbing, makeup streaking down her face as she clawed at her veil. This wasn't the polished family portrait they'd wanted to sell. This was raw humiliation, public and permanent. Vendors pulled out one after another. The florist left with every arrangement still in the truck. The caterers packed their food back into vans. The photographer shut his camera case and walked away. The hotel staff locked the ballroom, their smiles tight with satisfaction. What was supposed to be a grand celebration became a deserted hallway filled with arguing voices and abandoned decorations. I didn't feel joy watching it. I didn't laugh. What I felt was something colder, sharper. Satisfaction. They had chosen to see me as nothing more than a machine that existed for their convenience. Now, without me, they were forced to see themselves for what they truly were: hollow. By the time night fell, the messages had shifted. The anger remained, but desperation bled through every word. My sister's furious accusations turned into begging. She wanted me to fix it, to send money, to save her future. My mother pleaded for me to consider family reputation, insisting that everything could still be repaired if I just gave in. My father avoided apology, but his tone had shifted, his commands replaced with veiled warnings about how people talk. I didn't respond. The next morning, the fallout deepened. Guests who had flown in began demanding explanations. Relatives who had lent small amounts of money demanded repayment. Vendors sent legal notices, contracts marked unpaid. My family had counted on me to absorb the cost, but without me, every debt landed squarely on them. Their savings weren't enough. Their credit was stretched thin, and the community that once looked at them with admiration now looked at them with disgust. Overnight, their name shifted from one of pride to one of shame. I scrolled through the feeds, watching strangers comment on the clips. How could they treat their own daughter that way? One wrote. Imagine losing everything because you bit the hand that feeds you, another added. The internet didn't let go. It dissected, mocked, judged. My family couldn't escape the spotlight they had once craved. Meanwhile, I adjusted easily into my new life. My penthouse overlooked the city, the skyline a constant reminder that I had stepped away before they dragged me under. I filled my days with quiet routines, morning runs along the waterfront, evenings spent arranging the apartment to my liking. For the first time, every decision was mine. No one questioned how I spent my money. No one demanded explanations for my time. But even in that peace, their voices tried to reach me. Calls poured in, voicemails piling up until I silenced the phone altogether. I never deleted them. I let them sit, a digital archive of everything I'd escaped. Some nights, I played them back, not out of guilt, but out of clarity. Each one reminded me why I had walked away. One night, though, I received something different. An email from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. She had attended the wedding, or what was left of it. Her words were blunt, almost detached. They've turned on each other. Your sister blames your mother for everything. Your father says it was all your mother's idea. Your mother says she only wanted to please your sister. They can't stop fighting. People are talking about divorce. Your sister has locked herself away. It's chaos. Reading it, I felt nothing. Just the same calm certainty I had felt the night I first overheard them. They wanted to make me the foundation of their lives, and when I stepped out, the structure fell. That wasn't cruelty, it was truth. Days turned into weeks, and the silence from them grew heavier. They had stopped calling daily, their fury replaced with something else. Fear. When they did reach out, their tone was different. No more commands. No more entitlement. Only small, hesitant messages. We miss you. Can we talk? Please come home. The quiet stretched longer than I expected. Weeks after the wedding disaster, my phone barely buzzed anymore. No more angry messages, no more desperate pleas. Silence had taken over, and in that silence, I realized they weren't reaching out because they'd given up, they were regrouping. They had always been like that. When pressure broke them, they turned inward, hunting for someone to blame until the fire landed on a single target. And I knew whose name was on their lips now. It didn't take long for the confirmation to arrive. Another message from the same cousin appeared in my inbox. They're telling everyone you sabotaged the wedding. Your sister says you drained the accounts out of spite. Your father claims you betrayed the family. Your mother says you ruined your sister's life. They're playing the victims now, and people are listening. Reading it, I didn't flinch. They hadn't changed. They never would. Instead of admitting their greed, They were spinning a story where I was the villain. And for once, I didn't care. Let them. If they wanted me to be the monster in their version, I would let the role fit because this time, the ending would belong to me. I started with evidence. Every withdrawal, every transfer, every signature I had secured weeks earlier, I compiled it all into a neat portfolio. The documents proved I had closed accounts legally, moved funds lawfully, and revoked permissions months before they ever tried to plan that wedding. There was no theft. There was only self-preservation. I handed those files to my lawyer, who assured me that if they tried anything, I was shielded. Next came the truth they couldn't spin away. Remembering the night I overheard them in the living room, I went back to the security system in the house. My father had installed cameras years ago, not realizing they didn't just protect him. They protected me. I logged into the archive, pulled a recording of that night, and downloaded the footage. The audio was clear. My father's laugh, my mother's whisper, my sister's cruel giggle. Every word they spoke about using me like an ATM played crisp and undeniable. When the video was posted, it spread like wildfire. The same internet that had mocked their wedding collapse now watched them expose themselves in their own voices. The comments turned brutal. They called her an ATM? No wonder she left. This family deserves everything coming to them. The tide shifted instantly, and the sympathy they had been trying to build for themselves crumbled. Their reputation didn't just take a hit, it dissolved completely. My father's coworkers stopped answering his calls. My mother's social circle froze her out. My sister, once obsessed with appearances, vanished from every platform. They couldn't twist the narrative anymore. The proof was out there, permanent and untouchable. That was the public reckoning. The private one came soon after. Unpaid debts stacked higher than they could manage. Vendors filed lawsuits, relatives demanded reimbursement, and the bank repossessed property they had leveraged. The house I had once called mine slipped into foreclosure. Cars disappeared from the driveway one by one. They had gambled everything on the image of wealth, and without me to fund the illusion, they couldn't maintain it. News reached me again through relatives, not through them. My sister moved back into my parents' shrinking home, her engagement shattered, her fiancé unwilling to tie himself to a scandal. My father lost his position after colleagues circulated the video. My mother tried to keep appearances, but was seen shopping with coins instead of cards. Their downfall wasn't loud this time. It was steady, relentless, the kind of collapse that stripped away not just comfort but pride. Through it all, I stayed still. I didn't answer their messages, though they tried again when the spiral deepened. We're suffering. We need you. Please come back. Their words were hollow. They wanted me only because I had what they no longer did, stability. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. And I would never step into that role again. One evening, months after the wedding fiasco, I returned to my balcony, the same spot where I had taken that first photo. The skyline glowed, steady and untouchable. Below, life moved forward, uncaring of the storms my family had created for themselves. I realized then that I had ended their control not with shouting, not with confrontation, but with absence. I had stepped out, and their entire world had folded without me. I thought about them for the last time that night. My father, who thought power came from belittling others. My mother, who believed appearances mattered more than truth. My sister, who treated love like a prize to be bought. They had all looked at me as a resource, never as blood. And now, stripped of everything, they were left with nothing but themselves, and that was punishment enough. I put my phone on the table, its screen quiet. No missed calls, no new messages. The silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt final. My story with them ended not in screams or apologies, but in the simple act of walking away and never turning back. The ATM was closed forever.